Okay. Good evening, everybody. We all okay? Hard to see. My name is Peter Scott, and I'm the Chief Executive of ILF Scotland. And it's a pleasure to welcome you all here this evening. First things first, the housekeeping. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, there are no fire alarms due. If the fire alarm does go off, you will know. And there will be lovely people from the Glasgow Science Centre who will direct you to the emergency exits. And I think we'll begin out the door that we went in and into the car park if necessary. Anybody has a mobile phone, please, if you don't mind, pop it on silent for us. That would be great. If anybody needs to leave the room at any point, that's absolutely fine. Just on you go. There's a quiet room just along the corridor here on the right. There's I think it's the first room you come to. It's called the Bothy. Feel free to go in there and get a bit of peace and quiet if you like. Toilets are along that corridor as well. You'll see them down there on the right, just round about where the elevators are. We're going to be taking videos and photo tonight. Hope that's all okay for everybody. But if anybody does not want their photo used or does not want to appear, please can you just let somebody in the green top know, and we'll take care of that. Is that okay? Okay, great folks. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the Science Centre and to our celebration event marking the 5th anniversary of the Transition Fund. And thank you all for coming along this evening. We thought we would start the evening with a wee bit of entertainment. And I am very, very, very excited, I can promise you, to welcome Rianne Downey. He's going to provide her entertainment tonight. She's a young singer from Glasgow. You've maybe seen her busking in Buchanan Street before the lockdown. You've maybe seen her on her social media presence, which went ballistic during the pandemic. You maybe seen her supporting Paolo Nutini. You maybe saw her playing Transmit. You maybe saw her at the Isle of Wight Festival. And if you're very, very, very lucky, you might even have caught her in South by Southwest in Texas, where I dream of going to one day. Erin has not only been there, but she's played at it, and I believe she's only 22? 22 and already played at South by Southwest. What an achievement. It's incredible. So we're very lucky. We've got Rianne tonight providing our entertainment. She's going to do 2 songs for us. 2 songs that I think are pretty appropriate for the occasion. She's going to do the song Caledonia by Dougie MacLean. Absolutely beautiful ballad. Many of you will know it, I'm sure. And of course, somebody told me it's St. Andrew's Day today, I think. So very appropriate for St. Andrew's Day. And Rianne is also going to be playing her new single, which is called Home. And it is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful song. I actually taught myself to play it on the guitar last night in the hope that we could get a wee duet going, but we've only one guitar. So Home, I think Home was probably written by Rianne about Glasgow, or possibly Bellshill, which I think is Rianne's hometown. When I listen to this song, it's about Belfast, my hometown, and I think the thing about this song is that it can be about wherever you want it to be, wherever's your hometown. So when you're listening to Home, think about your home, and I can guarantee you will love it. So without any further ado, please give a warm Glasgow welcome for Rianne Downey.
Hi, everyone. This little town we call home, a little place of our own. Oh, if only you could see what this place has done to me. It's built me up and broke me down, picked me up, turned me around. But no matter where I'll be, it is always home to me. When I'm home, can't wait to leave. When I'm gone, home is where I want to be. But I know somewhere in my mind I was always meant to leave this place behind. It's built me up and broke me down, picked me up, turned me around. But no matter where I'll be, it is always home to me. Don't take it personally. This place might be for you, but not for me. No matter where our paths will lead, you will always be home to me. You've built me up and broke me down, picked me up, turned me around. But no matter where I'll be, you are always home to me. You've chewed me up and spit me out, made me laugh and made me doubt. But no matter where I'll be, you are always home to me. You are always home to me. You are always home to me. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hi, my name's Rianne Downey. It's a pleasure to be here and play for you all tonight. That was a wee tune of mine. It's my wee love letter to Scotland, and it's called Home. And this is another love letter to Scotland. I guess it's very fitting for St Andrew's Day, and I guess it's very fitting for any time in Scotland because, yeah, it's my favourite place in the world. This is a wee song called Caledonia. I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me in these last few days. I've been afraid that I might drift away. So I've been telling old stories and singing songs that make me think about where I come from. And that's the reason why I seem so far away today. Let me tell you that I love you and that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me. Now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, you know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Now I have moved and I've kept on moving, proved the points that I needed proving, lost the friends I needed losing, found others on the way. And I've kissed the lads and left them crying, stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying. Travelled hard with conscience flying, somewhere where the wind Caledonia, you're calling me. Now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, you know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Let me tell you that I love you, and that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling me. Now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, you know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. And if I should become a stranger, you know that it would make me more than sad. Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Caledonia, you're everything I've ever had. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. What about that then? Good? And remember, you saw her here first. Okay, day job, what are we here for? Oh yes, Transition Fund, ILF Transition Fund. So we're here to celebrate ILF Transition Fund's 5th anniversary. And when we say we're celebrating the Transition Fund, what we really mean is that we are celebrating you, the young people, who have made good use of your fund over the last 5 years. Over 5,000 of you so far, using the fund just to do the things that young people do. Before we set the fund up 5 years ago, a few of us travelled around Scotland from top to bottom, and we talked to people, asked for their advice. We had a wee bit of money that Scottish Government had very kindly given to us, and we were trying to work out what was the best thing that we could do with it. So we asked literally hundreds of people from all over Scotland for their ideas, and we got plenty of ideas. We asked people what they needed, what would make the biggest difference. And there was one thing that stood out everywhere we went. Everywhere we went to, the one thing, without exception, that got brought up was transition. And people talked about the challenges of transitioning from school into the big bad adult world for young people who had additional support needs of one kind or another. People talked about leaving school being just pretty much like falling off a cliff. And if we heard that phrase, falling off a cliff, once, we heard it 1,000 times. Everywhere we went, people were falling off a cliff as soon as they left school. People left school and told us that very quickly they lost the formal and informal supports and networks that comes naturally with school. People told us that they quickly became isolated and spending lots more time at home than they would have liked. People told us about losing connections, losing their community, and losing their friendships. So it was this risk of isolation, this loss that was so often associated with moving on from school, and all of the damaging consequences that comes with that loss, that led us to set up the Transition Fund to try and address some of those challenges with transition that seem to be pretty much universal. And seeing so many young people benefit from the fund over the last 5 years, overcoming these challenges has been an absolute joy, and it's why me and most, if not all, of my colleagues absolutely love the work that we do with ILF Scotland. It really is a joy to be part of it. One of the kind of weekly highlights that we all have is when emails come in on a pretty regular basis. Usually our transition fund manager, Ian, or some of his colleagues will forward on an email that's come in from usually a young person and sometimes a family member. And it's just an email, sending a couple of photographs, sharing a story, telling us about achievements and successes, and telling us really about how the wee bit of an intervention from the Transition Fund has made a positive difference and changed somebody's life. The stories are really about pretty much anything. It really can be about anything. It can be anything from fishing to flying, anything from music to mountaineering, anything from relaxation to rugby, and we get all of these things and lots more. And in some ways, it's not really important what the thing or the activity or whatever it is that somebody's using the fund for. What's important is the kind of common thread that runs through absolutely every email that we get, every application, every young person we support. And that's just young people with a little bit of support from the Transition Fund doing what young people do. Young people with a little bit of support, taking part in things that they love, doing things that are important to them, a wee bit of help to do things that they are passionate about. And as a consequence of doing these things that people enjoy, they're also building connections, building community for themselves, developing their citizenship, participating, and making friends, and probably as important as anything, having fun. Young people with a little bit of support from the Transition Fund, overcoming the challenges around transition that we've heard so much about. So it really is a pleasure to see you all here tonight to help us join in that celebration of all you young people who have benefited from the fund, who have moved your life on. It is a joy for us to be a part of it, and it's a joy to share that with you tonight. Tonight's about young people, and very shortly we're going to hear from a few young people who are going to tell us their own Transition Fund stories. But first of all, I'm very pleased to welcome our guest speaker, who is Mary Todd, the MSP for Caithness, Sutherland and Ross, and that's quite a mouthful. She is the Minister, Scottish Government Minister for Public Health, Women's Health and Sport. Before her current ministerial portfolio, Ms Todd was the Minister for Children and Young People for 4 years, so she understands very well the challenges that young people have with transition, particularly the challenges faced by young people who have additional support needs. So we're very, very grateful for the Minister for joining us tonight. I don't know what songs the Minister's going to sing, but I'm sure they'll be great. Please give a warm welcome to Minister Mary Todd. Thank you.
Gosh, thank you very much. What a pleasure it is to be here. I was actually telling some people I'm named after Loch Maree in the Highlands in Wester Ross, where I come from. And I have my own song, actually, Loch Maree Islands, which you can listen to on Spotify, being sung by Pete and Diesel. I won't ruin your evening by singing it myself, but go and have a wee listen. I do have a song. So it's really lovely, an absolute privilege to be here with you this evening to celebrate the achievements of the young people and the first 5 years of the Transition Fund. And thank you to Rianne. Oh my goodness, what a fabulous performance. That young woman has an incredibly bright future ahead. As the previous Minister for Children and Young People and now Minister for Public Health, Women's Health and Sport, I am well aware of the transformative effect that the Independent Living Fund has on people's lives. So I was just delighted to accept the invitation to come along tonight. And I know that my colleague Kevin Stewart, the Minister for Mental Wellbeing and Social Care, is really disappointed that a commitment in Parliament meant that he couldn't come along this evening. But all luck to me. Peter told me that the ILF Scotland Young Ambassador Group were absolutely instrumental in designing the format for tonight's event, so I want to thank them for a job that has been very well done. It's great to see so many young people here this evening and their family members or carers and representatives from a range of organisations that work in the area of transitions. It seems absolutely right to me that we are celebrating what young people have achieved in their transition fund grant on St Andrew's Day. We know from the traditions that surround his name that St Andrew, Scotland's patron saint, had a strong sense of curiosity about the world, and he ventured far throughout it on his mission, and that fits very nicely with what the fund is about. It's about supporting young people to try something new, and through this, to venture, to make new friends, to develop interests, to develop skills, and to live healthier lives. Indeed, to achieve whatever young people think is important for them in their lives. I should also take the opportunity to note that International Day of Persons with Disabilities is on the 3rd of December. This year's theme is Transformative Solutions for Inclusive Development, the role of innovation in fueling an accessible and equitable world. Now, I note the specific emphasis on employment, reducing inequality, and on sport as an exemplar case, and many trustee fund grantees have used their awards to develop skills, to participate in the community, and to take part in sport, which I'm pretty passionate about, you might expect, contributing to better mental and physical health. And I hope that feeling more included in their communities and in their peer networks. Now, so much in today's world relies on young people being connected, applying for jobs, applying for benefits, finding out what activities are available in a local area. But not all young people are able to access technology or the internet without support. And I am therefore absolutely delighted to announce that the ILF Scotland Transition Fund Technology Grant will be launched very soon. The technology grant will be quick and easy to apply for and offers the applicant the opportunity to get an iPad, a Surface Pro computer, or a Chromebook laptop to help them to overcome digital isolation and to connect with online and physical communities. I understand that ILF support and funding was particularly important during the pandemic, and in particular, the periods of lockdown when many young people might have had less contact with their friends and their wider support networks than they wanted and needed. And as activities and services began to open up following periods of lockdown, transition fund grants have been absolutely vital in supporting people to adjust to life after an incredibly difficult period. And this new grant will provide another way to support young disabled people. Now, we fully recognise the challenges that many young disabled people experience as they transition into adult life. And we are determined to improve the support offered to young people during this important period of their lives. We're committed to introducing Scotland's first national transitions to adulthood strategy in this parliamentary term. We need to ensure that there is a joined-up approach to supporting our disabled young people as they make the transition to adult life. And this includes providing them and those who support them with good guidance and support to unlock better educational and employment opportunities and improved health outcomes. My colleagues, the Minister for Children and Young People and the Minister for Equalities and Older People, are jointly leading on transitions and on delivering the National Transitions to Adulthood strategy. We recognise the importance of lived experience, and to support our work, we've commissioned an evidence review of transitions to adult life with a particular focus on what disabled young people have said to date to help inform future stakeholder engagement. We're now progressing our external stakeholder engagement to develop the vision, values and the aims and objectives of the National Transition to Adulthood Strategy, and will ensure that the voices of disabled young people and their families are at the very heart of that. We've already held early discussions with groups of disabled young people, including some ILF young ambassadors, to establish how they want to contribute to this work. And we'll continue to work closely with stakeholder groups to seek as wide a range of views as possible on the strategy as it develops. Now, as this work on the strategy develops, we'll think creatively about how the Transition Fund and ILF Scotland can continue to contribute to ensuring that young disabled people can achieve their full potential. Now, let me turn to the Transition Fund on its 5th birthday. It is very clear that the Transition Fund is having a significant impact on the lives of many young people, and we're here tonight to celebrate the achievements of young people themselves. A recent survey of the Transition Fund recipients found that 92% of respondents said that applying to the fund was a positive experience, and 94% of respondents told us that the funding helped them to participate more fully in their chosen community. Now, I am delighted that the application process and the outcomes achieved by young people are so well thought of by the very people that the fund is designed to support. I'm very grateful to Kieran and his family for allowing me to share his story, because it really touched me, and I think it brings to life perfectly the difference that the Transition Fund makes to young people's lives. Kieran applied to the Transition Fund to purchase fishing equipment and a gym membership, and I'm told that he's made so many new friends through fishing, and he now considers the fishery his second home. He's also become an enthusiastic member of the gym, and he's encouraging his brothers to join him. I just love that. This quote from Kieran's mum reflects how I hope that the Transition Fund can support many more young people in the years to come. The ILF Fund has made such a positive impact on his whole life. He's gone from having no confidence or motivation into the busiest man on the planet. You have no idea what it means to all our family to see him smile and to be so motivated and so active. From the boy who was told that a care home would be the best place for him, to now living a fulfilled life in the community, it's just overwhelming. And thanks to the ILF grant, this has been possible to get him this far. Each day just gets better and better for him. Oh my goodness, what a positive, uplifting and inspiring story. Now, before I finish, I have to take this opportunity to publicly express my thanks to ILF Scotland's Transition Fund team, some of whom are here tonight, for all of their hard work over the last 5 years, and especially during the pandemic. I know that, like many people in Scotland, you had to adapt the way that you worked overnight, and it had to work to overcome many challenges. In closing, I want to again extend my sincere thanks for the invitation to attend tonight, and I am so looking forward to hearing from Erin, Katie and Douglas, and I hope you all enjoy your evening. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, very much indeed. And really good news to hear about the launch of the technology grant, which we all know how important technology is for young folk to stay connected these days, and this new development will make it so much easier and quicker for people to apply to get whatever technology it is that they need for them. And really brilliant story about Kieran. I don't think Kieran's here tonight, is he? Oh, he is. Superb. Brilliant, Kieran. Good man, Kieran. And hello, Kieran's mum and dad. Thanks very much for coming. And listen, I totally love that story as well. It's absolutely superb. And I've spoken to another couple of families tonight that have told stories, not about fishing, but about other interests that have had the same impact as the impact that the fishing's had for you, Kieran. So brilliant stuff. Really delighted that you're here. Okay, so listen, we mentioned to Kieran, and it's really obvious right away that it's time for the real stars of the show. The stars of the show tonight, no offence to the minister, no offence to anybody, it's about the young people and the young people. And what we really want to do is for you to share some other stories along the lines of Kieran's about the difference that the fund is making in people's lives. So I'm now delighted to introduce yet another brilliant young woman to the stage. This time it's Erin Macaulay. I'm not going to say too much about Erin. She's going to tell you her own story. I just want to say that I've had the pleasure and the privilege to get to know Erin a wee bit over the last wee while, and it's been an absolute joy, and I'm really delighted that she agreed to help us out here tonight. I kind of manipulated it a wee bit without really manipulating it a wee bit to get Erin here, and I'm really delighted that she agreed to join us. Erin's just recently become the youngest trustee of Who Cares Scotland, and she applied for a Transition Fund grant earlier on this year. We're delighted that she's agreed to share her own Transition Fund experience with us all this evening. And after Erin shares her own story, she's going to introduce another couple of young folk stories for us as well. So please give a warm welcome to Erin Macaulay.
Sorry, I'm just getting myself sorted here. So first I just wanted to say that it's a real honour for me to be asked to say a few words this evening and to be here and celebrate the 5th birthday, and hopefully it's not the last birthday, and hopefully we've got many more celebrations. And I suppose like every birthday or party, as Peter said, there's usually people that are the centre of attention, and a day to mark, celebrate and show love and appreciation for them. And tonight, that cause and centre of attention is absolutely about young people, and to champion and celebrate all the brilliant young people in Scotland who have accessed, benefited from and been supported by the Transition Fund in lots of different ways. And of course, to champion and recognise why this fund should exist in the first place, be protected, be invested in, and also further promoted. And before I share my own story and journey, I wanted to acknowledge that in so many ways it's a privilege for me to be standing here and be able to do so, because so many young people in Scotland, whether they're care experienced like myself or live with a disability or both, are unable to share their stories or be given a place to do so, or space or support, or are not empowered to share their story. Because so many young people and care experienced young people's basic human rights are not even being met, never mind fulfilled. And far too many young people and far too many young disabled people continue to face daily barriers, challenges, and be at the receiving end of so much stigma, shame and bullying. And young people, and indeed care experienced people, face unacceptable inequalities every single day, and many of whom are just living day to day to survive and stay afloat, but are not really or always living. So I wanted to start by recognising that we do have a very long way to go in ensuring that all young people can live with dignity, and that all their rights, especially their right to fun, safety, education, work and love, is being fulfilled. And that a more acceptable and loving and caring world and accessible world is built. And also that we keep challenging a system, because it's not young disabled people that have to change, it's not young care experienced people that have to change, it's the system that has to be more accessible and more inclusive. So I think that this fund acts as part of the puzzle of meeting young people's rights, reducing disability, inequality, because it wants nothing more than all of us to just have fun and to transition, as has already been mentioned, to try something new and be a little bit supported, because that period of transition can be a moment of sink or swim. And folk always say young people are the future, but I would always say that young people are the now and they should be invested upon now. So I want to, I suppose, share a little bit of my own story and how the fund has helped me and the process of accessing that. So I've got a wee bit of, just a couple of slides. So, did I just push this button? So I wanted to provide a wee bit of context first about where I was when I first applied for the fund. And I've put a couple of things up there. But at the time when I applied for the fund, I was off work. So I've lived myself since I was 15, so in many respects I have been independent, but in other aspects it's been like a messy transition. And when I was 15, I was removed from my then home and experienced lots of different enforced or not enforced or homeless, out of homelessness, and it was a very, very messy transition. And when I first applied for the fund, I was going through lots of different transitions, because in some aspect I'd never experienced stability. So all of a sudden I'd went from just living day to day, not really know whether I'm coming or going, and all of a sudden landing a permanent job and a little bit of stability in a postcode that I could depend, a postcode that was longer than 6 months. And all of that was quite overwhelming. So when I first applied, I was forced off work, and I was really, really unwell with anorexia. And I was also going through a transition of accessing all of my care records and a subject access request. So although I was independent, and although I appeared to be okay on the surface, and maybe I didn't fit the stigma of a disability, I didn't fit the stigma of a care experienced young person, because on the surface I was doing okay and I was doing well. I was going through lots and lots of trauma, I suppose. And I was going through every week I was on a meal plan. I had been diagnosed with a heart condition. I was told that I wasn't allowed to have children. I was essentially going to die from anorexia, and was forced off work. I was staying alone. I was during lockdown, and I was really, really struggling. And I was going through lots of different processes and applications. I became a bit frustrated with the health system. I became a bit frustrated with the care system. I just felt like a subject and a stat in the system. And also I was trying to recover from anorexia purely alone. You know, I wasn't going home to a family. I didn't have a family to depend on. So all of that was quite overwhelming. And I was advised to apply for the fund. And at the time I thought, I'm a bit sick of applications. I don't know if I can go through this. And it was one of the first funds that I felt that I wasn't just being treated like a stat. There was a little bit of dignity to it. There was options, there was choices. If I wanted to apply online, I could. If I wanted support, I could. And I never felt like, I felt like a human being rather than you're just another stat in the system. And I think that was really, really, really important to me. And when I applied from the beginning, as I said, it just made me feel like a human being, and I was treated with dignity. And when I was applying, it really did take me on a reflective journey of my identity and things like that. But when I got accepted, I was absolutely delighted because I really struggled with accepting that there was a fund there that just wanted young people to have fun. Because when you are care experienced as well, sometimes you've been through so much trauma that you expect things to be, there to be like something, I don't know, some sort of blackmail, or, you know, you're going to be accountable, or you're going to be chased up, or, you know, when I applied for the funds, there was no sort of, you didn't have to justify your story, you didn't have to justify where you've came from. It was more about just having fun. How can we help you? How can we help you in your life? So, yeah, I couldn't believe it existed, and when I got accepted, I was just absolutely delighted. And how I used the fund was that I've always been into sports, but because of my anorexia and my physical health at the time, I was forced to not play football anymore because of my bones and things like that. But again, the fund never said to me, you can't participate in sports. It was more about, okay, well, how can we make sure that if you're going to use this transition fund money to participate in our sport, how can we make sure that it's about your healing, and how can we make sure it's about your mental well-being, and how can we make sure that it helps you to get back to work as well? And that's exactly what it did, because it didn't just allow me to access and, I suppose, excel or try to excel in a sport and try a new sport, but it actually helped me to heal, to get back to work, to feel a little bit more connected to a community and my work, and meet lots of different people. Because when I did apply, I was in a very isolated state, although on the surface I'm all bows and bangles. So, yeah, so I applied for the fund, and I've got a couple of pictures, and I used it on climbing. So I used, this is some of my pictures, so I used my fund to buy some new climbing equipment, and also to, I suppose, take me on a new climbing adventure. And when I first went to the climbing club, they said to me, "Oh, Erin, you're a really good climber. You know, where did you learn to climb when you were young?" And I was like, "I'm for the scheme, of course I know how to climb." And it was a little bit of like, you know, entering a new territory of kind of, you know, a class that maybe I hadn't ever been associated with. And I first went, and yeah, so I first went and I felt a little bit out of place, because climbing had never really been, although I'd done walking, climbing had never really been a sport that I thought was for me. And again, one of the first times I went to the climbing club, I just turned up my wee meal deal, and I didn't have any gear, nothing, and it was just like a whole new experience for me. And you know, the fund helped me to buy all the right equipment, go in there, pretend what I knew what I was doing when I really didn't, but at least I had the gear to pretend, you know, all the gear, no idea. Like, I had all the gear to pretend that I knew what I was doing. And it just helped me to feel a little bit more, like, dignified, and also to access an opportunity that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And also, when I first went to the climbing club, you've got to do a course in order to use the wall. And I failed that course the first time that I went, and I couldn't tie a figure of 8. So you have to tie this figure of 8 in order to be able to, you know, climb. And I'm, you know, all the safety elements. Usually I'm just climbing trees and all that, but you know, they take it seriously, and you need to be able to tie this knot. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I had never actually properly been able to tie my shoelaces, and my pals would slag me how I do the wee bunny hops and whatever. So I just couldn't tie this figure of 8. And that was it. Like, failed the course, you can't go use the wall. But actually, it wasn't that I couldn't tie the figure of 8, it was the way that they taught me. And they were so, you know, static in their way of this is how it was to be taught, and this is how you were to learn it. And I just couldn't learn the way that the guy and the man was teaching me. So I used the fund to go on an external rope climbing course where straight away somebody else had taught me how to tie the figure 8, and all of a sudden, you know, went back to the climbing wall with all my new gear, with my rope, knowing how to tie the figure 8, and it just reminded me that I was like, you know, that was a small barrier to prevent me going and excelling in that wall and meeting new people at that time. And it just reminded me that, you know, so many young people that are disabled or care experienced, sometimes it's a small barrier that just needs to be broken down. And, you know, to be able to sort of excel in life. So, you know, I use my most of my fund for all of that. And this is some of my pictures from climbing. And it allowed me to meet new people as well. So, yeah, it allowed me to meet new people as well. So this was one of the journeys that I joined a sort of climbing club. And it was good because people didn't know me. They didn't know, you know, they just seen me as who I was. And actually one of the women in this story ended up working for the NHS. And at the time I was also healing from anorexia. So she actually became quite an important person to me in terms of, you know, listening or advising or helping me in the right direction of maybe what support was available as well. But also I'd never been able to read a map, so they taught me how to read a map. And yeah, it took me on a nice sort of journey, which, you know, I don't think I'd been able to do without, certainly without the support of the fund and all the right gear as well. And be able to go into these spaces that for me is quite middle class and actually feel a little bit more, well, I can belong here. And the fund has allowed me to go in there and heal. And also with, you know, the anorexia, it was like, well, you know, if I want to be able to keep climbing these mountains, then I need to fuel myself and I need to heal and I need to recover. And when I first applied for the fund, I just totally surrendered to anorexia, that I was like, fine, you know, this is it. But actually applying for the fund gave me a new sense of confidence and purpose. And has been really instrumental in helping me heal from anorexia too. So, yeah, these are some other pictures. So this is me trying to look strong, obviously, you know, pulling myself up. And yeah, the fund has just helped me to go on some of these adventures. And also, Peter mentioned that I became the youngest trustee for Who Cares, so it's also helped me to be more confident in my identity about, you know, being care experienced and having a disability and you know, what that means. And, yeah, heal and grow and just being a really important part of building my confidence back as well. So, and helping me in that transition, because I think this age of life is like you're too young to be old, but you're too old to be young, and you're just a little bit, you know, in the middle. So, yeah. So that's the fund helped me to do that, and I hope that also more care experienced young people apply for the fund as well, because I think there's so many links between being care experienced and disability as well. So, you know, I hope that more care experienced young people apply for the fund. And also, yeah, one of the last things I wanted to say was just a huge thank you to the staff, because right from the beginning, I just felt like, I just felt so supported and have been supported throughout the whole process. It was so simple, it was so easy, it was treated with dignity, and I just think it's an incredible fund that just wants nothing more than for people to have fun and heal and grow and join their community along the way. So, you know, I just want to say thank you so much to ILF again, and yeah, I hope that so many more young people do access the fund, because it can have such a big impact, and people always look for these big policy solutions on how to reduce inequality and the disability pay gap, and I think funds and things like this, if you're not getting it right for young people in the transition, then you're not going to get it right later on. And if they're not having fun and they're not engaging with their community, then policy words are just policy words. So, you know, so I just want to say thank you so much to ILF again. And, yeah, a big happy birthday. And now I'm going to introduce, so Douglas Fraser has a video, and I believe that Kenneth Fraser and Douglas are going to come up and share their video.
Do you want to say a quick hello? Do you want to say a quick hello? Douglas,
Hello.
come and say in the mic.
Hello.
Do you want to say happy birthday quickly as well to the transition fund? You say happy birthday?
Happy-
Can you do that, Douglas?
Hi, Bernie.
Happy birthday. Okay, do you want to go sit down? You go sit down. So, yeah, I think he was a wee bit nervous to come on the stage, but I'll do a wee bit of talking for us. So, this is me and Douglas. So, I'm Douglas's brother, and one thing to know about Douglas is his favourite hobby is hill walking. So together we've done 70 Munros now, so that's a quarter of them, and he loves it. He loves it. So when we applied for the transition fund, we thought, what better thing to get than some camping equipment that we could use to climb more Munros. So we applied in 2019. We got a tent, a pretty good tent, very lightweight, so we could take it up hills with us. We got a down sleeping bag, very warm sleeping bag, and we got the cooking equipment as well, including forks, which were probably Douglas's least favourite bit, because this is a wee video of the fork which is chucked in the loch, and I had to go in and get it. So he looks very pleased with himself, but he does appreciate it, I promise you. And once we got more experience, and by which I mean we stopped throwing forks about, we started doing more adventurous things. So this is a hill we did in the winter. Looks pretty cold. And here's another wee video. So those fence posts were probably about half a mile of them, and you can guess what he did. Half a mile of smashing ice. I think that's the longest it ever took us to walk half a mile. And we made friends along the way. So this was a dog that we found, it's near Loch Tay. We were climbing a Munro there. And on the way out, we found this dog in the middle of nowhere with nobody in sight. So we used a shoelace as a lead to get it through the sheep fields and took it down to the farm for the farmer to look after. So that was good. And then we also did some hill walking with groups of friends, which was great for Douglas, because hill walking's an activity that no matter his difficulties, he can join in just the same as any other mainstream person would, and they could barely keep up with him, to be honest. And it all led up to our most recent trip, which was a route we did. It's called the Cairngorm 4000s. So it's basically all the Munros in the Cairngorms that are over 4,000 feet. So that includes like Ben Macdui, Bray Riach, Carntool, they're the three big ones there. And so in total, it's like 10,000 feet of climbing over the weekend that we did. and it's a marathon in terms of distance. So it was pretty serious outing, but with the equipment we got from the transition fund, just made it very enjoyable. And it was over rough terrain as well. So that's Douglas clambering up some rocks. He's like a mountain goat. And there we go. That's him. So yeah, we just want to say thank you very much for what the Transition Fund has allowed us to achieve and allowed Douglas to achieve. It's such a wonderful thing for him to be able to go out and do hills, and we've only done a quarter of them, so we've got, 210 more to go. So I'm sure we'll get plenty use out of our tent yet. It's like, we applied once and it's going to last, a lifetime pretty much, all the stuff. So it's going to make, across Douglas's life, and particularly in these transition years where he's just left school, it's such a big thing to be able to take him and for him to go out and climb hills and to enjoy it. So yeah, thank you very much and happy birthday to the Transition Fund.
Can I just check somebody if we have another video now? We have? Yeah? Yeah? Great.
Hi, my name's Katrina. I live in Milngavie. I have 3 children. My youngest son, Douglas, has autism, learning difficulty and ADHD.
Oh.
I'm Kenneth, I'm Douglas's brother, and I support him to do activities like hill walking and cycling and things.
Douglas is 18 years old. He is mainly non-speaking. He understands quite a bit. You can ask him to go and get his shoes or to put his jacket on, and he manages to do that.
He can get quite distressed at times, but we find that if we can take him out and do activities with him, like walking and cycling, that helps to keep him happy and to kind of prevent having challenging times.
Douglas was 16 when we applied for the Transition Fund. I found out about the Transition Fund in 2020 during lockdown.
We applied online using the online application, and it was fairly straightforward. We were applying for camping equipment. The hardest part really was deciding what we were going to spend the money for.
The main thing was a very lightweight tent that could be taken up into the hills. They were very helpful, and it just really, we needed to be reassured that we were doing the right thing.
During the summer we did Ben Lawers beside Loch Tay, and I had a big group of friends with me. There was 8 of us all together, and we took Douglas along, and he loved just being a part of the group. He can walk along with us. He's not very involved in conversation, but that doesn't matter at all because he loves the walking just as much as we do. Do you like camping?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where do you sleep?
Tent.
In the sleeping bag, yeah. And is that good fun?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Anyone that's thinking about applying for the Transition Fund, think about their young person, think about what they like to do. The staff are very helpful. The work that the ILF Transition Fund do is just so valuable. It can make such a difference to a young person's life, and it has to Douglas's.
Wow, 3 very, very different and 3 very, very, very powerful stories that sum up so much better than I ever could just what the Transition Fund's all about and the impact that it makes and the like how such a small investment, like a bit of camping equipment or walking boots or a fishing rod or whatever it might be, can make such a transformational change in people's lives. I want to say a really heartfelt thank you to all of those folk who have shared their stories with us so honestly this evening. Okay, listen, I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to rattle a few quick thank yous, so much quicker than I would have liked, but time's running on, and we've one more speaker to come that I'm going to introduce in a minute, but I'm going to do the thank yous first before our final speaker, and then you can get a quick bite to eat. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody, really appreciate it. Okay. So, Rianne Downey, I don't know if Rianne's still here or not, but superb. Well, let's not clap everybody one at a time because it'll take too long. But big, massive thanks again to the wonderful Rianne Downey, who I am quite sure you will be hearing about again. Thank you, Erin Macaulay, for telling us your story with such honesty and such dignity, and for helping to introduce the other people who have benefited from the fund. Thanks to Katie, who was meant to be here but unfortunately couldn't make it at the last minute, and also thanks to Douglas and Kenneth, and Mum and Dad are here as well. That was a pleasure that you were able to join us. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of our Transition Fund Young Ambassadors for all the hard work that they've done to help with this event and that they do, at other times as well. Ryan, Charlene, Andrew and Kate are all here. If anybody here has received money from the Transition Fund and is interested in becoming a Young Ambassador for the fund, chat to somebody in one of the green tops and we can get you signed up. That would be great. You will notice the cake here. These have been made by, I like to call her our very own Kate over here, Kate Speaks, who was one of our first, the people that we funded early on in the fund. Kate's now running her own, as you can see, amazing bakery, and I was learning earlier on that she has now been shipping stuff to America and Canada, would you believe, with her Etsy, is that what it's called? Etsy site, like wonderful stuff. Thank you very much to the Minister, and listen, I know the Minister had a tight schedule and she's stayed on, and we really appreciate it very, very much, and if you need to dash, please just do dash, but we really appreciate your time. Probably don't do this enough, but listen, thanks to all of the ILF Scotland staff, both for getting tonight organised, which was no mean feat, I can tell you. I turn up at these things and everything happens, and everybody else in the background, I'm sure, has been running around like headless chickens for months and doing a brilliant job, and thank you. And thank you for the ILF Transition Fund staff who are responsible for all of the stories that you were hearing tonight and thousands more stories like that. They do a fantastic job throughout the year. We need to recognise that. So thank you, all of you, Ian, and the rest of the team who are here. You're very much appreciated. Thanks to all of you for coming. We understand that there were lots of traffic difficulties earlier on, and it was a bit of a challenge to get here. Somebody told me there were 3 separate accidents on 3 separate motorways, which can't be much fun. So well done for getting here. We really appreciate it. Thanks to the staff here at Glasgow Science Centre. The guys doing this tech stuff have been superb. People coming in last minute asking for changes and things, and the sound for Rianne, brilliant, absolutely superb. This event space really is wonderful, so really appreciate that. Now, I don't know what really this is, but there's a QR code somewhere or other that I think you scan with your phone. Is that on the tables? Right, there's something you scan on the tables with your phone to do an evaluation. So if you don't mind, it's just a wee short survey, I think. If you would fill that in, it would be great. Last thing I think is somebody called Michael Brandy. Is Michael about? Who is our magician, who, when you're getting a bite to eat, you might get some guy coming around doing magic tricks. That's okay. We know who he is. Okay. So finally, that's my great pleasure to introduce yet another brilliant woman to the stage. She's right here, in fact. Okay, listen, I've had the absolute pleasure to work alongside Susan for the last 7 years. She's been a lifelong, very powerful advocate for equality and actually for all things ILF. She was awarded a CBE for her work on equalities and disability rights back in 2019, and she was recently named Inspirational Leader at the Scottish Women's Awards. Susan is the chair of the board of ILF Scotland, and she's going to round the evening off with a wee bit of a a wee bit of personal reflections and just sum up the event. So I will now hand over to Susan, and once Susan is finished, we can all go and enjoy a bite to eat before we go home. Thanks a million, everybody. I really appreciate your coming. Well done.
Thank you very much, Peter. That was a lovely introduction, and wow, I just feel as if, gosh, can I actually follow that? That was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your stories. And I'm just sitting there reflecting, I suppose, on the years that I've been involved in disability and disability rights. I've been saying exactly the same things that our young people said today about being able to live a life. When I was 14 and I became disabled and finished up school in a challenging way and then was admitted to hospital. And during that time, I did become quite isolated myself. And that was when I first started having my first rights conversations with people, because people began at that point to start telling me what I wasn't going to be able to do. And I'm very fortunate that I had support in my life that enabled me to do that and to get over those barriers. But it gave me a passion for wanting to be at things like this tonight, to be involved with organisations like the ILF. It is so important that we have dignity in our lives, that we continue to be able to support disabled people of Scotland to be equal citizens. That is exactly what these stories today have told us about. They've given us classic examples of what citizenship, what dignity, what living life with a bit of fun included, and how important that is for your self-esteem, for who you are in your community, for who you are in families. We've heard tonight from amazing people, from Erin and Katie and Kenneth's stories and Douglas's stories are just fantastic. And I think that what we see through Douglas's story particularly is that it affects whole families, doesn't it? And transition is not just about the young person then, it's about the dignity and the support for the whole family. So thank you so much for sharing your story. And Erin, I can say that we have got more people with care experience starting to apply to the fund. We've had 250 applications, successful applications so far, and hopefully people will see you, what you said tonight online, because I think it's been recorded and it'll be out there on the World Wide Web, and they'll see your passion, they'll see what an amazing young woman you are. You're a rising star, I think, in disability rights in Scotland, and I'll look forward to, in my dotage, sitting and listening to you, maybe in my position in that time. But it's just so fantastic. And to see a young woman getting back to nature on the video, I'm sorry she wasn't being able to be here tonight, but to climb trees again, that's just fantastic, isn't it? And to be a teacher and to be that positive role model. And all of you, there's too many of you here for me to mention tonight, but all of you, every story I hear about the Transition Fund just makes me cry, because I'm a big softie, but it also gives me ammunition. When I go and speak to ministers, when I speak to civil servants, when I talk to people who are holding the budgets, I can say to them, every pound that you give us for the ILF, I promise you, personally I promise you, will be spent effectively. It will be used to give disabled people in Scotland equal citizenship. And what can be more valuable than that? Scotland believes in those things, so therefore we need to do something that Erin touched on, which is take the words off the policy pages and put it into real life. And I give you my commitment that I'll continue to do that for the ILF and for everything else that I have to do with disability. It's been my passion all my life, and I think I probably will say my last words fighting for disability rights. But thank you for this evening. Enjoy yourselves. It's lovely to see all of you. I hope to get to speak to you all later.
Transitions Fund a happy 5th birthday.
Happy anniversary. I look forward to the next 5 years to see what you manage to achieve and how you change people's lives. So thank you from me and all the students that you've supported so far.
Hello, I'm Robbie Henderson and I've received funding from the ILF Fund. Happy birthday to a fund that's made such a difference in my life.
I wouldn't be where I am today without ILF Scotland and the Transition Fund, which turns 5. So happy birthday to the fund, and here's to the next 5 years and to those young people who will apply in the future as they begin their journey to try something new.
Hi, I'm Carol, one of the caseworkers in the Transition Fund team. I just wanted to say congratulations to the TF for 5 years of existence, and especially congratulations to the young people who've benefited from the fund and all the amazing achievements that they've had. You're inspirational. Good luck to the future for the Transition Fund.
Happy birthday, ILF Transition Fund. I'm Ellie, one of the caseworkers. What I love about the Transition Fund is that you can reach for the stars, dream big, and look to the future.
Hi, my name is Nadeem. I'm the head of finance here at ILF Scotland, and I just wanted to wish the Transition Fund at ILF Scotland a very, very amazing happy birthday. I think it's amazing the work that we do. We change people's lives. So here's to another 5 years of changing people's lives.
Hi there, I'm Tracy from Finance Department. I want to say happy birthday to the Transition Fund. Congratulations to you all and very well done on all your achievements.
Happy birthday, 5 happy years of helping young people throughout Scotland. All the best for the future, and thank you everyone. You're doing a wonderful job.
We'd like to say happy birthday to the ILF. Congratulations.
Happy birthday.
Happy anniversary, ILF. The work you do has changed lives, and I hope you can continue to do that for many years into the future.